Well, okay then. um, I'm not sure where to begin because both of these episodes are kind of all over the place. So the first thing I had to look up immediately after I watched these two was that it was a different person writing it and directing it. I know that series do this sometimes, but I kind of wish that they wouldn't. It's like maybe like have like two, but I looked for like the whole season and it seems like for every two episodes it's two different people writing it and directing it, or it seems there's four different writers and four different directors, which is like why? Like I think that that's the wrong approach it takes because basically it ends up being too many chefs in the kitchen, kind of like it just becomes like a cluster, like and it's not as cohesive because you have everyone writes differently and stuff. It's almost like those like group projects where it's like you have to like write like a group essay or something. It's like that's stupid because everyone writes different, and I really wish that they didn't take this approach, but I'm not gonna lie, it kind of has me worried for the rest of the season because like the total pace and like the tone of these two episodes were way different than the first two. The first two, I was like, oh, this is good. I don't know what everyone's talking about, but then now after watching episodes 3 and 4, I'm kind of to see a little bit what people are talking about. Now, like I haven't like seen what everything, but I have heard that like that has some pacing issues and it's inconsistent, and now I can see what people are talking about. So, all right, so episode 3. So we begin with Azula pretending to be with the Fire Nation Citizen Resistance, which I liked. I liked that they added that detail because I always wondered that too. I was like, do the citizens of the Fire Nation go along with it, or is it just mainly like the government and the Imperials that kind of want more of this, or is it like the citizens do even want that? And it seems like there are some citizens that don't want Ozai's role and kind of things be the way they are within the Fire Nation. So Azula pretends to be one of these rebels and kind of infiltrates their groups and basically leads them back to the palace as a trap. And then basically Ozai, claims that they're trying to do it for peace and for unity, for everyone to be rolled under one nation. And the guy's like, well, by killing people and stuff, and then he basically just burns them alive as Azula's watching, and then Ozai basically tells her that that Zuko has found the Avatar and that the Avatar is back, and that kind of pisses Azula off because here she is, she's trying to gain her father's favor by being at his side, and then he's talking about something that Zuko did, so which kind of bothers her. And the first problem with this episode is that it's trying to do like three stories at once. It's trying to do the Northern Air Temple episode, it's trying to do the Omashu episode, and it's trying to do Jet all at once. And it just doesn't work in my opinion. Like if you want to mix a couple things together, fine. Like how they mixed it with the first, couple episodes where they mixed, like where the Southern Air Temple and then episodes, like 1, 2, and 3. That was a fine way that they did it, I thought, for the most part. But with this one, it just didn't seem to work because like you had characters going against each other that wouldn't be going against each other and that they never really interacted before, but now they're interacting in this. It just doesn't make sense, and it's kind of like a clusterfuck. But the weird thing is, okay, so they're going to Omashu, right? And then people, they're refusing people to get into the city, just like how they did in the episode. But instead of going through the tunnels to get into Omashu, Jet helps them sneak into it by like pretending like he's like with Katara and like they're in disguise, and then the guards are just like, okay, go through. Even though they were just saying no to everybody else, but they're like, okay, you guys can go through. It's like what? Like it doesn't even make any sense. Like they could like maybe they could have dressed them up like as soldiers, or maybe well they wouldn't have fell for that, but like maybe they're like, oh well, we're trying to find our parents or something, but like just to say, oh, we're married, even though like Katara looks like what 15, 14, like yeah, she would be totally married to like it doesn't even make any like that didn't make any sense. But anyway, Jet helps them get into there. They're in Omashu, and we run into the cabbage guy, and that was one of the highlights of this episode was like the interactions with the cabbage guy, and his cabbages obviously get destroyed, but yeah, I thought that was nice. Oh, okay. So initially, I forgot to mention this. Initially, Aang sees someone else flying. He's like, "Guys, it's another Airbender," and and that's where it leads him to Omashu. So now, instead of living in the Northern Air Temple where they were in the series, Teo and his father Sai, they're in Omashu. Like, why are they in Omashu? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why are they in Omashu? And I guess if you want to do it that way, it's okay. But like, it just take them out of the Northern Air Temple takes away their whole point and their whole kind of the whole arc of that entire episode, I feel like. And like it doesn't make their characters as good. I mean, not that they were super amazing characters to begin with, but it kind of takes away their characters because they're like, because that was part of the thing is like they were so, obsessed, well, not obsessed, they were like intrigued by airbender culture, and then like trying to debate like moving forward and building stuff on the temple or preserving it. But like all that is thrown out the window because they're just in Omashu, which just doesn't make no sense in my opinion. So anyway, they meet Teo and Sai there, and and that was another thing I didn't understand. It's like, why would Teo be flying? I mean, I guess if he wants to get around, but it's just like, why would he be flying? Because wasn't that the main reason he was flying was because, or not only him, but the people that they were with, because they, admired the airbender culture and stuff. So like, why is he flying around in his chair? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, Aang and Sokka are kind of with Sai and Teo. Katara goes off and she just runs into Jet. No, 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 no. She follows Sai and sees that Sai is making deals with the Fire Nation, with this Fire Nation spy. Then Jet comes out, and and then it devolves into this whole. It's like three things going on at once. So you have Katara meeting Jet and meeting the Freedom Fighters and like like learning about like how they work and stuff. You have Sokka and Aang working with Sai and Teo, and then you have Iroh and Zuko basically trying to infiltrate the city, and then you have Azula talking about how she's going to try to use Zhao to get information. It's just like there's so much going on at once, and I don't think that it works. Like if you want to do this, have two things going on. Don't have four things because then it just goes all over the place, and then you're not going to be as invested. Yeah, so Katara meets Jet and the Freedom Fighters. They look okay, I guess. Pipsqueak looks weird. He just looks like a kid in cosplay, because this because like wasn't like Pipsqueak like an adult or like close to being an adult in the original series, but this dude just looked like a guy in cosplay. I thought their costumes looked so weird as the Freedom Fighters. I mean, the guy playing Jet looked okay, but like the rest of them just didn't look right in my opinion. So then also May and Ty Lee are also introduced with Azula as she's shooting a bow and arrow, which okay, I guess she has a bow and arrow now. Like, all right. And basically Azula's kind of talking about how she's done all this work and that she doesn't want Zuko to screw it up, and they bring up the fact that Zuko pretty much is the heir to the throne even though he doesn't deserve it, and Azula's already trying to calculate on how to surpass him by getting information on him and like what he knows about the Avatar through Zhao, and Zhao seems to be interested in taking up her offer as well. So okay, so then there's this whole segment with Jet and Katara, which I guess you could call it character development, but it's just like it's just out of nowhere. It's out of nowhere because nowhere at all to this point is it hinted that her trouble with her bending is because of her mother and the memories or how she thinks about the death of her mother. Now, if they would have hinted at it in episodes 1 and 2, okay, fine. But there is no hint to that at all. Like from what it seemed was that she basically was having trouble because she couldn't actually have the skill because she didn't know how to. But now it's just like, no, it's not that she doesn't have the skill, it's because like she has an emotional blockage, which I guess makes sense, but if you want to do that, do it from the beginning. Don't just throw that on us right now, because then it doesn't make this moment here worth much because it's just like, okay, it was just out of nowhere. And okay, so Jet helps Katara by basically, trying to help her think of her mother in a more positive way. And then all of a sudden after doing that, she can do the water whip, which is like, okay, whatever. I still feel like that I don't know if it's Katara, the writing for Katara, or if it's just the actress, but I just feel like she's still kind of just very bland in my opinion. So yeah, after that, she's able to do the water whip. Then Katara goes back into the city, to tell the guys that, hey, we know. Oh, I forgot to even mention this. There was a bombing. There was a bombing in Omashu, and they're trying to figure out who did it. Katara goes to saying Sokka and Aang and saying, "Hey, I think it's Sai, the mechanist. He's working with this Fire Nation. I saw him talking to this Fire Nation spy." But oh, and I forgot to mention this. So Aang and Teo fly up and see where they're making this blasting jelly, this explosive jelly, right? But and then they immediately suspect Sokka and Aang immediately suspect Jet, which makes no sense. Because I'm strictly following the episode here. I'm not even mentioning the show. They only met Jet one time. They only interacted one time on the way to Omashu, and then after that, they never spoke to Jet again. So how in the holy hell can they suspect Jet when they didn't even like meet? Like that's what I'm saying. Like this doesn't work. You need to do two things at a time so you can actually build things up instead of doing this where you're just slapping shit together. Like I didn't like this. I don't know. This episode kind of pissed me off because like it doesn't work. Because like why would they be mad or why would they even point the finger at Jet? It's not like in the original series where Sako did a mission with Jet and saw that Jet didn't have any regard for the town. But the only difference is the town was full of Fire Nation citizens and soldiers, but he didn't care about the citizens. But in like this one, he's just like an anarchist. It doesn't make any sense. Like he's just like I don't know. It's just like oh my god. So and then because of this, and of course like in the show, Katara likes Jet or whatever. And then out of nowhere, when like they're trying to figure out, they're trying to find out who's responsible for the blasting jelly. Out of nowhere, they're like Katara and Sokka are fighting, and Katara's like, don't treat me like a little girl. And I'm like, what? Like, when was that even built up? When was that even built up? Which doesn't even make this fight makes no sense. There was no build up to it at all within the first two episodes. I mean, I didn't see it. I don't know about you guys. I didn't see at any point where Sokka was like, "Oh, shut up, Katara. You're just like my younger sister. Get out of the way." Like he never did that. Now, I from the original show anyway, it was more kind of like Sokka looked at even in he mentions it in season 3 that Sokka looks at Katara as a motherly figure and support, right? And it doesn't even seem like that's the case in this series. Like it seems like more that Sokka is like, I mean, obviously, the leader arc, which is what it's supposed to be for Sokka, but Katara isn't really that support system for him, right? Like it's almost like they need each other. Whereas here it seems like more Sokka's trying to lead this entire tribe and Katara's learning waterbending, but she's not really like as she's not from what I see anyway, she's not like a support system to Sokka. Like she's more kind of being drug along, and maybe like Sokka isn't like including her in on everything, but it's because he's the leader, right? And if he's the older brother, he's gonna take it for himself, right? I mean, as an older brother, I'd know, right? It's not that he thinks of her. I don't. I just don't. I just think it came out of nowhere. There was like this conflict was just coming out of nowhere, and it doesn't make any sense. And I don't know why it's in this. But anyway, so Jet, Jet told Katara that they're planning to do something. Jet runs into Sai, and Sai's carrying this box up to the palace to show his designs or whatever. They switch it the explosive jelly. So Jet has it in his mind that he wants to not only kill Sai, but he also wants to kill Boomy because Boomy isn't doing enough to stop the Fire Nation. What the hell does it like? This doesn't make any. I'm sorry, this don't make any fucking sense. No sense at all. So now, like in the show, it made sense because it was the Fire Nation, right? It's like I don't care, they're all bad. Fire Nation is all bad. But in this, you're attacking the Earth Kingdom government because they're not doing the way that you want them to do it. Total anarchist is like blow everything up. Like, like okay then I guess if you want to go that way, but whatever. It does. It literally makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense whatsoever. So then, yeah, so Iroh and Zuko are in the city, and Iroh's eating the different food and stuff, and Zuko's like trying to find Aang, and then they run in, or he runs into Katara, or he sees Katara in the marketplace, and then Aang's like, oh, this is my fight, I'll go, I can do it, and him and Zuko fight, and Zuko's like, okay, I don't need Firebang to beat you, and he's like fighting Aang hand to hand, which is okay, but then I don't know, I feel like Aang would have been more defensive and more evasive and dodging him, but he got hit by Zuko a few times. And then in the middle of the fight, Zuko's like, oh no. Aang says, oh well, why have you been chasing me for 3 years? And Zuko's like, how do you know I've been chasing you for 3 years? And he's like, you read my diary! And then like he sets the marketplace on fire, even though he was told not to firebend. And then now like all the army is after them. It, typical teenager, Zuko doesn't like it when someone reads his diary, so like he loses it, and so yeah, so the army is like after them, and they arrest Aang, And like Iroh basically lets himself be arrested so Zuko can escape because they start shutting down the walls inside the city. So then, okay, so Sai is carrying this explosive jelly up to the Earth King, up to Bumi. Longshot is in the tree and he's about with a flaming arrow. He's about to shoot it and it blow everybody up. And Katara uses the water whip now that she, learned it and let go. They even did it where like she has thinks about happy things about her mother, and she uses the water whip to stop the arrow from hitting the thing, and so like it stops it, right? So then now they need to get into the city, right? And they're like, well, how do we get in the city? Because we know Aang is being held there. Okay, so no, so not even that. Hold on, let me go back. So then after that, they go back to Teo and Sai tells them that he worked with the Fire Nation to protect Teo and to protect Omashu, which is like like I'm saying, like because they're not at the air temple, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because before he was doing it to preserve the air temple. Meanwhile, he's trying to preserve the air temple. He's also doing all this stuff to kind of not destroy it, but like build stuff around it. And it's that balance that he's trying to struggle with because he wanted to preserve the air temple. This makes no sense why he would work for the Fire Nation. It makes no sense whatsoever. This motive is bullshit and it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it so it was directed by the same person. I think it had a different writer, but like, oh my god. So then they show a flashback with Aang and Bumi, and basically that Bumi is the one who kind of made Appa's whistle for Aang, and that Aang still carries it around and stuff. And Iroh talks about what was it? I forgot who he was talking to, but he talks about how he basically owes Zuko, and I think it's because Zuko kind of helped fill that void that was left by Lu Ten, his son's death, and that basically Iroh sees Zuko as a son now. And then okay, so this is episode 4 now. So then another thing I don't like. So Aang and Bumi meet, right? And immediately Aang knows it's Bumi. Immediately he knows. He's like, Bumi? And then like he's like, oh hi Aang, like how are you like? I mean, he's like, how are you still alive? How are you alive? And I'm like, what? Like it's like they completely took the whole point away from like the like they took the whole point away from the Northern Air Temple episode and from the Omashu episode. Like they took the whole main point away and like putting in this other shit, and it don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't want to critique the show and read like this, but even putting the animated show aside, watching it by itself, it makes no sense. It don't make no sense. So then out of nowhere, Jet confronts Katara and he's like, "Why'd you do that, Katara? We need to blow it all up. Just blow it up. Blow it up."
Yeah, blow everybody up!
And Katara's like, "No, Jet, you're not any better than the Fire Nation. I know you're gonna hurt people." He's like, "In order to save people, you gotta hurt people." Okay. Which is kind of similar to how it was in the show, but like it makes no sense because in the show it made sense because these were Fire Nation people he was talking about killing, not freaking Earth people, like Earth Kingdom. Like it don't make no sense. So then, anyway, Jet and Katara fight, and she basically beats him the same way she did in the show, where she like freezes him. Whatever. I think that whole part was stupid. But anyway, so then Aang and Bumi talk about how the war affected them, and Bumi talks about like he basically kind of blames Aang. It's like, oh well, you were gone, and you didn't experience any of that, and it's just like out of nowhere. It's just, like it like this was not Bumi. I feel like this was a poorly written version of Bumi. Like it was not good. So then he starts these challenges, and for what? I don't know. To like because apparently he wants to teach Aang or just showing how like it to be not how to be the avatar, but like kind of challenge him on how to be the avatar, which is stupid because the original point was that he wanted Aang to think outside of the box, right? And it seems like that Bumi like has like no hope. He's like, oh now you show up and stuff, but it's just like you're in the freaking White Lotus. What do you like do? What are you talking about? This makes I mean obviously like I know that from watching the show, but it's like that don't make no like it just these two episodes just don't make no sense. They don't make no damn sense. So Sai tells Katara and Sokka, well, a way into the palace is through the secret tunnels. And I'm thinking, okay, but weren't the tunnels outside of Omashu? Like, wasn't the whole point of using the tunnels so they could get to the city? Now all of a sudden the tunnels are inside of the city? Okay, whatever. But even though, like, according to the story, it doesn't make any sense, like, because didn't they do that? They built those tunnels to get to the meeting spot, which was the city of Omashu. So why would they build the tunnels inside of where the city would be? But whatever. Let's go on. And they run into the hippies, like, I thought that was funny. They run into the hippies. They sing the secret tunnel song as they enter the cave. And then Sokka and Katara are going through the tunnels. I forgot how. I think Sokka sees the crystals in the ceiling and he just turns his light off and they follow the crystals. As they're walking, they fight again. Katara and Sokka fight again. And Katara says, "Don't treat me like a little girl. You're not dad." And I'm like, this is like so not like Katara at all. This is not like Katara at all. Like, who is this? Like, Sarah, I'm sorry. Like, who is this? This is not Katara. And I said right, and I was just thinking right there. It's like, well, you're acting like a little spoiled girl by how you're doing that. Like, it's just out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Even Sokka too. It's like this is out of nowhere. Like, this doesn't make any. It's just forced tension, and it's stupid and it's bullshit. It's dumb. It's dumb as hell. So anyway, like after that, it pans to them taking Iroh. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Iroh and Aang talk briefly in the prison about why like the I forgot, like basically about like him like in his brother and like how he relates to Ozai and how he feels about things and stuff. So the Earth Kingdom or the soldiers say that they're going to take him to basically a work camp. And on the way there, the captain treats Iroh like shit, and he claims that he doesn't know anything about loss and that he was at Boston saying he lost his brother or something. And then Iroh doesn't say anything, but it goes to this. In this moment, I loved this moment where it goes to a flashback of Iroh at Luten's funeral, and it's playing the same song it was from the Tales of Ba Sing Se, where he goes to visit his grave. It plays that same song, and I love this part. And like Ozai's kind of like, oh, he'll always be remembered, and he'll always be remembered in glory. And Zuko comes up and gives him something that Lu Ten gave him, and he gives it to Iroh, and that I loved. I loved seeing that scene. Like that was like despite what a shit show these two episodes were, that was one of my favorite moments in it. Was that? So that was a good moment. And then, okay, this was stupid. This is stupid. So I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, and they're walking through the tunnels. And I'm not kidding you guys. I yelled bullshit so loud that like my sister was in the other room and she's like, "Are you all right?" I'm not even kidding. Like I yelled bullshit so loud when I saw this. So okay, so Katara and Sokka, they're like, "Oh, there's crystals everywhere. This isn't the way out." Which is like, okay, I understand, but you want to do what you want. And they run into the Badgermoles. They find out that the tunnels are moving because the Badgermoles are earthbending and making the tunnels and moving them and stuff, right? They see the Badgermoles. The Badgermole is about to screw them up. The Badgermole is like gonna eat them. And Sokka and Katara, they like hold hands. They apologize, and Katara's like, "Oh, you did have harder than dad because you had to do it by yourself." And like, it's just like weird. This is just weird. This whole dynamic isn't right. But anyway, so they hold hands and they're like, basically saying their goodbyes to each other. And the Badgermoles stop. They stop. And Katara gives this bullshit exposition by saying that Badgermoles, they were led by love, not by sight. They're blind. They can feel our love. What the hell is that? Come on, dude. Stupid as hell. Stupid. When in the fuck can they do that? That is stupid. Dumb as shit. Dude. Like, that is the dumbest freaking MacGuffin I've ever heard in my life. It's like dumb. Like, dude, I was so amazed by how stupid that was. They can sense love. What? Oh my, I'm still like speechless. And then Sokka, Sokka asks the Bajima, "Well, since you guys sense love, can you please show us to the temple?" And the Bajima starts doing it. And like this reminds me, like, this isn't Nickelodeon. This is a damn Nick Jr. episode of Dora the Explorer talking about manners. Seriously, it's just like, could you please move it? And the badger's just like, all you had to do was ask. That was the whole point the whole time, is to learn how to be nice to your sister and use your manner. It was stupid as hell. I'm like, what the fuck? It was stupid. That part was so dumb. Oh my god. So meanwhile, Aang and Boomy are doing these challenges, which, like, the challenges were not even as, like, first he has Aang in that rock candy. Aang breaks out of it like 2 times and that's it. What was the other test? Like, him picking what dish he wanted. Like, it was like, at least in the show, like, it was just like, oh well, you have to save your friends and you have to, think outside the box. These tests were fucking stupid. They were stupid and it didn't matter. So Boomy's just like, okay, so in the final thing, Boomy and him are fighting. And obviously it wasn't gonna be like the show, but I was like, dude, this guy doesn't even look like he didn't, he looked a little toned, but it's like he looked like, I don't know, whatever. I don't, at this point I don't care. So him and Aang are fighting just like in the show. And Boomy has these two big ass boulders that are over him and over Aang. And Aang's holding these up with airbending. And Boomy's like, well, you're gonna have to, make the sacrifice. That's what it's like about being a leader, being the avatars. You have to make a sacrifice. Either you let it drop on you or you let it drop on me. And I'm like, this is dumb. What is this supposed to teach him? And it just seems like Boomy's just really bitter and just like an asshole for no reason. I mean, I understand Aang was gone for 100 years, but especially being in the White Lotus, you should have some kind of hope, right? Like, come on, like, this don't make no sense. So and then Boomy's like, oh well, you don't have anybody. And then like Katara and Sokka break through and they help him, and then he's like, you cheated, you used your friends to help. And he's like, well, that's what I learned, is that in order to do this, in order to save the world, I need my friends. Come the hell on, man. It was stupid. This part was these 2 episodes were stupid. I'm sorry. Besides the Zuko and Iroh parts, the rest of it I could give a shit about, honestly. Like, it was dumb. It was complete tonal shift. The pacing was all over the place, and it was dumb. Whatever. So then, Boomy's like, oh well, Aang has to get to the water temple, and we can handle these firebenders coming. Okay. And basically it shows them leaving and going there. And Zuko and Iroh, or Zuko finds Iroh. He frees him from the soldiers. Iroh still shows mercy to the soldiers, despite the soldier being an asshole. The soldier throws a rock at him, and it hits Iroh in the back or stabs him a little bit, and then Zuko, like, basically just gets, finishes them. Well, they didn't finish him, but they beat him, and then they move on. And it shows a flashback of when Zuko first gets banished and Iroh joining him, and Zuko's like, you want to join me? It's like, you're not gonna be able to come back home. And Iroh's just like, I brought lots of tea, and I'm coming with you. And that was beautiful and that was nice. So it's just like, there was a few good moments, but the rest of these 2 episodes didn't make any sense. There's shit all over the place. They're trying to do basically four stories at once now within these 2 episodes, which don't make no sense. They completely took away the Northern Air Temple and the homage, the entire purpose of that they took away and blended it together into this shit shake, which doesn't make no sense. No sense. So I hope, who wrote these? I gotta hold on. Let me see who wrote these again. Keely McDonald. Don't ever write again, please. Do not write again. Who wrote he wrote episode 4. Who wrote episode 3? Christine Boylan. And Jabari Raisani was the director of both of them. Do not have him direct, and do not have these two write again. I really hope to God that they do not write again in this for the rest of these 2 seasons, because I hope that it could be saved, but I don't know, man. Like, these 2 were so bad. They were so bad. There were some good things in them, but it was just so bad. Like the pacing was bad, the writing was bad, the dialogue was bad. The it's just like these two episodes were a mess and were complete polar opposite from the first two. The first episodes I was like, what is everyone talking about? This is fine. But it's like a complete tonal shift. And it kind of scares me that because we only got 4 episodes left, how is the rest of the season gonna be? And I understand they need to cut stuff out and they need to rush a little bit, but like they just went like ludicrous speed with the pacing here, and it just didn't add up, and it made it worse. So that's my recap for these 2 episodes. I'm honestly I didn't enjoy it as much as the other two, and I'm really kind of worried for how it's going to be for these next few episodes. I hope it gets better, and I hope it picks up again. I will say, despite how bad these 2 episodes were, it's still better than the Shyamalan movie. But I hope that it gets better. I really do. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope to see you next time. Thank you.